Hello, everybody. Welcome back, and I guess welcome to the second or first workshop of the day for the Authortube virtual retreat. Hello, I'm Haley. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I have a channel. Wow, okay, hold on. I really need to be better at this intro stuff. I have an Authortube channel. It's right here. You're watching it. And today we're gonna be doing a workshop on outlining. And I'm super, super excited because I actually love outlining. I didn't realize how much I loved it until NaNoWriMo happened. And then I realized, wow, this is something that I know and that I love and I like to do. Yeah, so I'm excited. I have a whole PowerPoint for you all because, I love PowerPoints too. I guess that's my two faves, outlining and PowerPoints. Also, I don't know what I was gonna say. Okay, I'm gonna jump into the presentation. Oh, all the links are down below for the Authortube virtual retreat. My links are also down below. It would really, really mean a lot to me if you supported me in any possible way that you can, and also checked out every single presentation and workshop and sprint by all the other Authortubers in the Authortube virtual retreat down below. So yes, thank you. Looks like Sherry is here. Hi, Sherry. Hello, Keelan. How are you? Yes, good morning. It's 11 o'clock for me. Hi, Sarah. Hello and hi. Hello, Charlie. How are you? All right, so let me figure out how to share my screen. Now, once I share my screen, I actually won't be able to look at comments and everything because it's a PowerPoint. So if you have any questions, just, I don't know, I'll pause in between the slides and we can have questions and answered. And if you do have any questions, put a nice big Q in front of them so that I know what they are. And I want to make this as interactive as possible. So if you have any comments or you disagree with whatever I'm saying, please let me know because that would be fun. And I like arguments. I'm kidding, I don't. But, it'd be fun. Also, I think that's my teacher brain coming out because, yay, audience participation. Let's share the class. All right. So if everybody can let me know if you see the full screen, that would be awesome. It should say outlining to help you and your characters. Please let me know. Actually, I realize that I can't see if you'll let me know. So I guess we'll get through the first few slides and then I'll check in with all of you. So outlining for success. That's what this is going to be all about, and I'm pumped. Everybody, don't forget to hydrate. And if you haven't eaten anything yet this morning, please eat something because, want to take care of yourself. That's not listed in this outlining, but it's equally important for writers to take care of themselves. Self-care, everybody. Woohoo. All right. So, what helps you the most when outlining? What are the things that you absolutely have to figure out first? Let me know in the comments. I want to hear from you. And why are those the things that you absolutely have to figure out first? What's important about those that helps you figure out your story? Character, setting, etc. Let me know. Here, I'll minimize the screen just for a second. All right, looks like people can see the PowerPoint. Awesome. Let me know if it's too big or too small for you. And yeah. Oh, Keelan, sorry to be popping in and out to make it to the sprints as well, but we'll certainly be catching the whole thing on replay. No problem. No problem. I was actually gonna hop in on the sprints too, but then I realized that I'm presenting and I can't really do that. So tell everybody hello, please, from the sprints for me. So yeah, what helps you the most when outlining? For me, I like to figure out my ending. So, what is your end goal? What is your Avengers Endgame? What are you working slash writing towards? What is like the big thing that you're going to end your story on? And if this is a standalone novel like my NaNoWriMo project, how can your ending resolve everything that you wrote for the past, you know, 50, 60, 70, 80,000 words? Your ending could leave some questions alone for the reader to just sit and perpetually wonder about, but it's really best if your ending resolves everything it possibly can. Again, if it's a standalone novel. If you're writing the first book in a series, obviously your ending does not and should not resolve everything because you need places to go from there. Figure out your beginning. How will your story start? Why are you starting here? What's the first image you want to leave or, introduce your readers with? And I say, I got this from Rachel Aaron's 2K to 10K book, that she figures out her ending and her beginning in that order. So you figure out your ending first, you figure out what you're writing towards, got that in the bag, and then you go back and figure out your beginning. For me, it kind of happened at the same time. For my NaNoWriMo project, I figured out my beginning because I wanted a very, 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 very specific image to have right there. But then, from there, the ending kind of sprang up organically. So I kind of cheated this, but I do think that it would be worth it to figure out what you're working towards first and then your beginning. This will actually help me personally for like writing plays, which I know that a lot of people don't do, but I write plays. So if you're interested at all in writing plays, it is helpful to figure out your ending first. So, Sherry says, I need to figure out the plot, then characters and world, then lastly research. That's fair. That's fair. For me, plot and characters are tied up together, but we'll get to that a little later on. But that's great. That's great. Aw, your beginning image is amazing, Haley. Aw, Sarah, thank you. Thank you. Aw. Sarah's beta reading my NaNoWriMo project that I just wrote, and that is probably complete trash, except for the beginning image, according to Sarah. Okay, I'll be right back. I'm gonna turn down the heat because it got super, super hot in here, so BRB. All right. So Sherry says that she does 3 different types of endings for each of my books because the stories sometimes change as I write them. Sometimes the ending changes completely different from the 3 that I wrote down. Yeah. That is totally fine. I'm not saying that you have to like have your ending and beginning completely set in stone from the start, but just have an idea of what you're working towards, what you're writing towards, and then just have an idea of where you're going to start, obviously. I'm just really thirsty, you guys. Drink your tea. All right, let's hop back into it. I'm also trying to go a little slow because I know that it's only 11:10 and I feel like this has to last an hour, So, yeah, everybody pop in your questions in the chat. Everybody pop in your praise for me. I'm kidding. as your supreme outlining overlord. Kidding, kidding. Please do not worship me as an outlining god. All right. So, to that point, for figuring out your ending and your beginning, write down what you already know. Write everything that you already know about the book. This is useful because you can have like all your rough ideas, all your ideas that excite you the most down on paper, down on your document, down on whatever to help you just get a basic overall idea of what you're going to write. Make your basic framework, and then from there, figure out what holes there are to fill in on your story or in your story. So for me, I used the save the cat method. I used the 3-act structure, which we're going to talk about a little later. And yeah, yeah. Basically, but like before I even got into the plot outline, I just wrote down what excited me the most about the story, like whether those were specific images that I wanted to talk about, or specific moments that I wanted to write, specific parts of the book, specific character ideas or relationship ideas that I wanted to know about. Essentially everything like that. Okay. Now, I hate to interrupt myself again, but I am actually gonna get some water because I'm like feeling really, really hot all of a sudden. BRB again. I'm so sorry, but please keep putting in your questions in the chat. Please let me know what you think. Let me know. Tell me everything. Thanks, everybody. Typically, I really try and be prepared when I'm live, so I'm so sorry. But hey, you know, go with the flow. Go with the flow. That's what I'm saying. Okay. All right. So, again, figuring out what you already know about your story. Figure out your bare bones. What are the 3 pillars of your story? Character, plot, and setting. And then figure out what kind of story you're writing. So, like, what kind of story do you want to tell? You know, what kind of story are you, I don't know, are you envisioning for your plot, for your characters, etc., 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 etc. All right. And I think Sherry was saying earlier that she writes like the character, plot, and setting, right? So, but then research and like world building is last, which is totally great, totally great. But like for me, I figure out the, the basics of the character and the plot and the setting. Yeah, yeah, that's for me. That's what I do. Okay. All right. Whoops, gotta present it. Okay. So, on to characters, because this presentation is technically called Outlining for Success and Your Characters. Now, I think characters are a huge part of your story, no matter what you're writing. I mean, obviously, you can't write a story with just setting and plot. There needs to be people to actually do the setting and the plot. I mean, I guess they just do the plot, not the setting, but they need to exist in the setting. So there you go. Okay, so for main characters, Rachel Aaron in her book talks about having 2 to 4 main characters. I typically just have 1. you know? Well, one main character, and then I surround that main character with like her best friends, everything, you know, all her friends, who are technically main characters. You could call them side characters, but they're important enough and they're different enough from the power players to be main characters, if that makes sense. Um, Yeah. Here, I'm so sorry, guys. If you'll give me just 5 minutes, I'm gonna like come back and, you know, I'll be ready for the presentation. I'm so sorry that I didn't prepare enough, like, for getting ready. But okay, I'll be right back. Give me 5 minutes. Please let me know your questions in the chat. What are you thinking about with the characters, with outlining everything, how this relates? All right, BRB. I'm so sorry, everybody. All right, I'm back. Damn, we love a good hot flash in the middle of a presentation, am I right, folks? Oh, I'm so sorry, but let's get back into it. Okay, so where were we? Characters. Yeah, so I was talking about how I typically have one main character, and I surround that main character with several other smaller main characters who are their bed bugs. Yep, bed bugs. Best buds. You can call them side characters. I still consider them kind of main characters because they're there to support the main character. Then, antagonists. Specifically for my NaNoWriMo project, I have two antagonists, and if you want to go that route, you want to have one main antagonist be bigger than the second. You want to have one main antagonist interact more with your main character, make them the big bad, and then, surround that antagonist with several other minions, like the main characters. Now, I think Rachel Aaron talks about only having 1 to 2 antagonists, like main big bads, because then the playing field kind of gets a little crowded. For power players, those include the main character's mentors, parent figures, etc., whoever they are, and for that you can have as many as you want. For me, I don't know. I have a lot, but they all have to serve the story in different ways, right? They can't all be cardboard cutouts, cookie cutter characters of the same archetype or anything. For my characters, I typically write down their names, most importantly names, their motivations, and then two things: how each character relates to the story overall, and then how each character relates to your main character. What's their relationship? That could be as easy as best friend, that could be as easy as enemy, etc. But you can definitely go more in depth. But like we said before, these are just the bare bones, what you're getting down on paper, on your document, when you're first setting out with your idea. Now, make your characters write their own stories. Rachel Aaron has this amazing analogy of herding cats versus driving a wagon. That's herding cats versus driving a wagon. Picture your characters. Now, are they cats, and are you trying to get them inside to your house? Imagine how impossible that feels. Or are you driving a wagon with your characters inside of the wagon? Who is in control here? Who is pulling the cart? Is it the cart or is it the horse? I feel like that analogy doesn't make sense, but we're gonna go with it. So let your characters grow up as you write. What do I mean by that? I mean that you want to let your characters propel the story forward. Your main character's motivations should be plot decisions. Your characters are there to drive the plot forward. In my opinion, your plot and your character development cannot be separated from each other. They don't even complement each other. They're like winding strings, all going like that, all weaving together to create your plot and your characters. Characters with proper agency write their own story. Characters also create your answers to what comes next. How did this happen? These should come from your characters. And the answers that you find also develop your characters. Like we said before, your plot and characters' motivations should be working together. And like I said before, with this analogy of like all the string and everything, weave your events, places, and people together, all together, to make your story. It's like a friendship bracelet. If you're making a friendship bracelet of your story, one strand is your events, one strand is your places, one strand is your people, and you all entwine or intertwine them together to create what you're writing. With me so far? I'm asking that as if I can hear you, as if I'm teaching one of my playwriting classes. Hello, students. All right, let's keep going. Where's the play button? Okay. So The more you know about your story, the easier it is to write. Theoretically, you could even go the wrong route and create all this amazing backstory for your story and your characters and your plot and everything, but then never get around to writing what you actually want to write, which is the actual story. So there's the downside. There's the downside to this. But typically, if you know your story, if you know where you want to go, if you know as much as possible about the actual story that you want to write, the easier it is to write. Now, I'm not going to list all the plotting methods in existence. You probably know those by now, and I think Sarah's presentation actually went over a couple of them yesterday, so correct me if I'm wrong, Sarah. But yeah, and there's tons and tons of videos on like Save the Cat and all these plotting methods. So yeah, check those out. You can even check mine out. I'm kidding. So just tell me what has worked for you in the past. We're gonna also see what worked for me, this NaNoWriMo, but I want to hear from you first. So what plotting methods have worked for everybody in the past? They can be as concrete as like Save the Cat or like other plotting methods that have a name. Let me know. Let me know. What do you? Let me know in the comments. I'll give like a couple minutes for StreamYard to catch up. Also, thank you, Sherry. This is a good PowerPoint. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I try. Um, yeah, yeah. You know, Keynote on Mac, it's surprisingly good. I've been using it for like video titles sometimes, but that's surprisingly a little hard because you have to make the background slide transparent, and then you have to export it as a movie, etc., all this stuff. All this stuff. But yeah, thank you. So yeah, tell me what plotting methods that you like to use. I can try and see on YouTube to see if the comments have stopped or not. I also forgot to promote this this video, so if anybody wants to pop the link in the Discord, I would really, really appreciate it. Not to, you know, toot my own horn or anything. There we go. Yeah, so just let me know in the comments what plotting methods have worked for you. If there are any, that's okay. That's okay. We can move on if you want. Yeah, I'm not seeing any comments pop up, but oh, I think I see one on YouTube, so just making sure that StreamYard catches up. Sherry tried the traditional outline and synopsis outline. I also do a basic sticky note outline for major plot points. That's really cool. What is the traditional outline and what's the traditional method? I've never heard of that. Is that like Save the Cat? Is that like any other plotting methods? Let me know. Let me know because I've never heard of that. Yeah, right there. All right. So for me, for NaNoWriMo, I used the 3-act structure. I also use Save the Cat, but we're not here to talk about Save the Cat because I feel like talking about Save the Cat has been overdone and, you know, everywhere that it could possibly be. So for the 3-act structure, Act 1, put your characters into a tree. Act 2, light the tree on fire. My favorite part, Act 3, get your characters out of the tree. Now, what does this mean for your story? So for Act 1, putting your characters into a tree, That's like setting up your story, introducing the problem, pushing your characters towards the problem, towards a possible solution. Act two, for lighting the tree on fire, you take everything that the characters already knew or thought they knew and just throw it out the window, put them into an impossible situation that they really can't get out of. And then act three, get your characters out of the tree. Resolve the conflict, resolve all the questions, and go down into the denouement of the story and your story. I really like this analogy because it's fun and it's super clever. All right. So there's no fail-safe plan for a three-act structure. Knowing about your story structure does not guarantee that you'll get it right, but it provides a roadmap to see where you went wrong or potentially went wrong. I'm not saying that everybody's gonna get their story wrong by all means. No. The good thing about the three-act structure is that it can become infinite nesting dolls. It can take place in scenes. You can make it happen in chapters. You can make it happen in parts of a book. You can make it happen in a book series itself. And for parts of a book, I mean like if your book is split up into parts, if that makes sense. And you can also make it happen across a book series itself. It also helps you understand your story choices on a deeper level. Because if you apply the three-act structure to all possible instances where it can be applied, then you'll know what needs to happen for the rest of your story as well. Now, on to scenes. So I already said that you should use the three-act structure for your scenes, but what else should your scenes do? Well, they should do a lot. Scenes should really do three things. They should advance the story, they should reveal new info, and they should pull your reader forward. Each step is a step towards the end of your story. Nope, each scene is a step towards the end of your story. Make each scene do more for the overall plot, for the overall story. And ask yourself mainly, what else can this scene include? Where else can you put your plot? What else can you possibly cram into your scene to make it do as much as possible to move your readers forward, to move your characters forward, to move your plot forward? Just to make your scene do everything that it possibly can is the moral of this slide. That's my end game of the slide. There we go, tying it to the beginning. There you go. Okay. So, we're actually at the end already. Okay. So, further reading. So, I did mention 2K to 10K by Rachel Aaron. That's the book series. No, it's the book that I have a series about on my YouTube channel. And it was really, really helpful to me for figuring out plotting for my NaNoWriMo project. Super, super, super helpful. It can even be helpful to you for revising, figuring out what else needs to be put into your scenes, into your characters, in your plot, which I feel like I need to do a lot for this NaNoWriMo project in order to beef it up. Oh, and speaking of beefing it up, for stories, you should include substance, not style. So pack as much substance as you can into your scenes, not style, not fluffy words, none of that, just things that actually move your story forward. One of my favorite resources is also Susan Dennard's For Writers. It's a section on her website. Totally awesome. It is so many guides for revising, for outlining, etc. It's amazing. It's amazing and an invaluable resource that I use all the time. All right. So Sherry tried the traditional outline. Yep, I got that. You write a summary about each chapter or each scene of your story. It might be similar to the Save the Cat method. Have not tried that one yet. That's okay. Yeah, that's really, really cool, actually. Um, I wouldn't say that I've written summaries about each chapter or each scene of my story, but I've definitely written down like the beat summaries for the story. Yeah. Wow. I have 30 minutes left. I apparently did not anticipate how long an hour was. So, yeah, if anybody has any questions, anybody has any feedback on the PowerPoint or how you outline anything, anything that you want to know more about, like the 3-act structure. Maybe I just talk really, really fast and I don't realize it. But yeah, I really love the 3-act structure. It's really, really helpful, but I also love it just because it has a super catchy, analogy, like I said before. I just really love the tree outline. I just really love the tree. Yeah. Just really love that. So yeah, let me know your comments down below. I wish I had more to say, but yeah, questions, comments, let me know. Let me see if I can show any of my notes about Rachel Aaron's book, because I feel like that could also be really, really helpful. Are you a plotter or a plantser or a pantser? So I thought that I was a plantser, and I still think that I am a plantser because when it comes to actually writing the thing that I want to write, I normally do veer off my outline quite a bit. But then I've also found that in later drafts, I do go back to the outline that I have and I do like use it a lot more than I originally did. So I do think that I am more of a planter when it comes to actually writing. Like I plot with really, really good intentions, but do I stick to that plot? No. Should I stick to that plot? Definitely, yes. So I would say that I'm a plotter in my heart, but when it comes to actually writing the thing, I'm more of a plantser. Yeah, yeah, that's that's where I'm at. What about you? Are you plotters or plantsers or pantsers? And in the virtual retreat back in ooh September, I believe, I did a presentation all about plantsing, so outlining your novel as a plantser. And a lot of this is a lot of the same, but I feel like I'm more in touch with my inner plotter. But, say that to my NaNoWriMo project and it's like, no, you combined all of these things at once. And where's your plot? I don't know. Yeah, that's that's where I'm at. I'm trying to keep out of the sun. There we go. Here, let me see. So I do have some notes on the 3-act structure right here. I mean, we saw a lot of that in my presentation. I also have a little bit about the denouement. If anybody knows or doesn't know what the denouement is, for me it equals like resolution, like what needs to happen for your story to resolve itself. What needs to happen for, you know, your story to actually like get the tension relief that it needs after the climax. We talked about the infinite nesting dolls, etc. Rachel Aaron talks a lot about how the best writers are the ones who think critically about what they're doing when they really write a novel. I think to her that means like story structure, figuring out what you're writing, figuring out how you're writing it, etc. I mean, I don't think it needs to be that, like, laid out or anything, but it's been definitely helpful to me. Looks like Sherry is a planter. I like to surprise myself on how the characters get to each major plot point. Yeah, yeah. I think the getting to each major plot point is definitely a big one for me as a planter for this past NaNoWriMo at least, because the getting there was definitely the hardest part. I had like all these big plot points, but I couldn't just teleport there magically unless I did sometimes. Yeah. Taylor uses the tree analogy too. Yes, isn't it amazing? I love it. I love it. So we talked about the scenes, how scenes should do multiple things. Rachel Aaron talks about how like pacing, how it helps to pace your steps wisely. For me, I just wrote my word count there, like 80K to 100K words for a YA fantasy, which is what I'm writing. Of course, your word count may differ wildly depending on what you're writing. And this is what I was talking about with the um, combining scenes and like adding scenes and making your scenes do more for the story. So we already asked what else can each scene do? Where else can I put the plot? And for that, I put combine your multiple scenes into one pretty much. Like pack as much about the romantic subplot, your magic truth, etc. into the scene. Add substance, not bulk to your word count, like I said before. And your quality of words trumps quantity of words every single time for me. So you can write as much as you can about a story, but just or like in a scene, but make sure what you're writing actually lends substance and lends depth to what you're writing about. How do you slow pacing if you feel like you are speeding through? What kind of buffers or scenes do you add? Okay, so that's a really, really great question. Thanks, Taylor. So for me, like I just said, like packing your scenes with as much depth and as much as you can. So whether that's character development, whether that's questions about the plot, whether that's, your character's motivations, your villain's motivations, just ask yourself what your scenes can do more that helps the story go forward. Here, I'll reshare that slide. Okay, so like I said was before, just ask yourself what else can this scene include? Where else can you put your plot? And just make each scene do more for your story. If you're feeling like you're speeding through, it could be a symptom of just trying to get from point A to point B, but just tell us more about how you want to get to point A to point B, from point A to point B. And what else can you include in each scene to make those scenes really count, really matter for something in your story? And like I said before, your scenes should do three things. They should advance the story, reveal new info, whether that's about your character, about your plot, about your setting, about your villain, about anything that you possibly can. Make your scenes reveal as much new info as you can, and they should pull the reader forward. And those three things don't have to happen like one after the other. Ideally, they would happen all at once. So like what story specific info can you give about your setting, about your character, about your plot, everything? What are the thoughts that from your main character that take us further inside her head, take us further inside her thought process, inside her, you know, whatever she's thinking about, how will that advance the story forward? I hope that helps. How do you decide what subplot to put into your story, or do you let the story tell you which subplot to put in? Yeah, for me, I let the story tell you which subplot to put in. You can definitely have an idea of, like, the subplots that you want to include when you're outlining at first. Like we said in the beginning, writing down everything that excites you about the story. But for me, I don't really focus on deciding which one to put in. I just let it happen organically. Like, in my NaNoWriMo project this past month, in the first, like, few scenes, I included this really, really important journal that I thought was gonna play this amazing role later on in the story. Where is that journal 10 chapters later? Nowhere, because it didn't it just didn't really happen. And who knows, maybe I'll add that in later when I'm revising or based on beta feedback who are telling me like, "Hey, where's this journal?" And it's up to you, it's up to you. But yeah, I do let the story tell me which subplot to put in. Do you write a character-driven story or a plot-driven story or both? So for me, like I was saying earlier, I feel like you can't really separate plot or character. Let me go back to the slide. Yeah, so like for me, your main character's motivations are their plot decisions, are the things that make the plot happen. And plot and character development can't really be separated from each other for that reason. And like I said, your answers to what comes next and how did this happen should come from your characters. Your plot and your characters' motivations should be working together. You should weave your events and places and people together to make your story, to make your plot. I don't know what these hands are, but they're doing something. Woohoo. That's what I'm saying. Where is the journal? Yep. Oh no, I realized that I'm really in darkness, aren't I? Okay. Yeah. I'm gonna like lean right here to make you see me. Yeah, where is the journal? We don't know where the journal went. It's somewhere. Maybe it's like floating in space, floating in a nebulous space. I don't know. Pocket dimension. But yeah, I mean, like I said with that one in particular, I write something and who knows if it's gonna happen later in the story. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. It just depends on what you're writing and how you're writing everything. Yeah. Yeah, let me know. Let me know what you think. Yeah, these are all really, really good questions. So thanks everybody. I feel validated. I don't know. I feel like I'm actually teaching a class. I have been teaching. I teach playwriting, so which is pretty different. I mean, it's pretty much the same, but also very different in some aspects as novel writing, which I'll actually have a couple of videos out on my channel soon, which I'm excited about. I'm gonna be doing a whole series on playwriting, so we'll see if that like becomes my thing to talk about. Like, for this one, for like the three act structure and for the main characters, typically with plays, pick you want to pick one main character as opposed to the two or four as opposed to the two or four characters that we talked about earlier. Wow, I cannot speak. Whew. Okay. Hey, and if you haven't already, everybody remember to like drink something right now, water, take a sip of water, adjust your posture right here. Probably could have done like a panel on self-care for authors, but that's okay. I think I am going to move out of the sun for my next presentation. I'm also hosting a workshop at 5 o'clock on queering your narrative. So adding in queer representation, which is always amazing, that everybody should do in their writing, everybody, no matter who you are. So please stick around for that. Well, that's in like a couple hours, so you don't have to stick around. Um, Oh, Sherry says, awesome PowerPoint. It's always cool to hear another author on how they outline and plan. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, I hope this has been super, super helpful to everybody. And I hope you'll join all the rest of the workshops and the sprinting, all the sprints today. And like I said before, you can follow along in the playlist down below. It should be linked down below for the Authortube virtual retreat. And please, if you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe to me because I'm like 50 away from 200 subscribers. So that would really, really mean so much to me. And it would be awesome if you subscribed and helped me. Thank you for answering my questions. Very helpful. You are so welcome, Taylor. I'm so glad it helped. I'm so glad it helped. Keelan says I'm 100% gonna have to go back and rewatch the pieces I missed. Thank you, Keelan. Thank you so much. Yeah, well, you know, for having a hot flash in the beginning of the presentation, I'm glad that I made it through. So thanks everybody for bearing with me. You know, take care of yourselves, everybody. Take care of your bodies. Take care of your minds, I guess. Kaylin, I'm not subscribed. How is that possible? Oh no, I'll forgive you just this once. Thank you, Charlie. Thank you. Thank you so much. Have a great break until your next live. Thank you. You too. No, that's not the right answer. But yeah, I think I'm gonna end it here, everybody. Thanks so much for all your support. I'm like really trying to move into the sun or move out of the sun. All right. Thanks everybody for such a great workshop, and I'll see you all later at 5 p.m. Eastern. I'll probably see you at all the sprints later on today, and I think before my workshop, we have Books by Adrian doing his workshop at like 4 o'clock. So I'll see you all then. All right. Bye, everybody. Thanks.